Imagine for a second sitting down and publishing exactly 2 meticulous, highly detailed essays.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Wow.
Right, without fail, for a decade and a half, including leap years.
That is, I mean, that's just a staggering amount of output.
It's unbelievable. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone, because today we are going on an expedition. We are stepping directly into the mind of someone who actually does that.
Yeah, we're exploring this massive, just sprawling digital ecosystem of an open source software developer.
Exactly. And, for you listening, our mission today is to examine just one single blog post. But that post acts as a window into a truly fascinating worldview.
It really is a remarkable archive. When you dive into the source material we're analyzing today, it's like walking into a vast, perfectly indexed library.
Oh, completely.
And every single volume, every marginal note, every little cross-reference, it's all generated by one relentlessly curious individual.
So let's set the stage. Our primary source is a blog post from March 6, 2026. It's from a website called qianmeng.org, and the author goes by the name Ang. In his own bio, he doesn't describe himself as like some grand tech visionary or Silicon Valley guru. He calls himself an old software plumber who spends his nights tinkering with FLOSS.
And just for anyone who might not know the acronym, FLOSS stands for Free, Libre, and Open Source Software.
Right, thank you.
But I have to say, that old software plumber line, it's a remarkably grounded self-description.
It really is.
It immediately strips away all that tech mystique,
No.
It tells you this is someone who is down in the mud, tightening the digital wrenches. He's dealing with the actual friction of building systems that, work without leaking.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. Now, the specific post we're looking at is officially titled Notes on Haskell Programming, Part 75.
Part 75.
Right, Part 75. Understanding Applicative Syntax. Now, if you're not a programmer, or if a phrase like applicative syntax makes you want to immediately hit fast forward, hold on.
Yeah, don't leave just yet.
Stick with us. Because the hook of today's deep dive is that this isn't just about computer code.
Not at all. The code is really just the entry point here. What we're actually examining is the human struggle to manage incredibly complex information.
Yes.
It's about those constant, agonizing trade-offs we have to make between clarity and power whenever we build any kind of system.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand Ang's mindset, we really need to look at the specific coding concept he's grappling with in this post.
Right, the Haskell language.
Exactly. Haskell, which is this notoriously rigorous, highly mathematical programming language. And right in the tags of his post, he brings up these very specific, highly symbolic operators.
They are so abstract.
Who literally look like text-based emojis from like 1998.
Yeah, we were talking about just strings of punctuation.
Right. So one of them is a $sign sandwiched between 2 angle brackets. So a less than sign, a $sign, and a greater than sign.
The operator.
Yeah. And the other one is an asterisk surrounded by those same brackets, the operator. Yeah. And if you don't know the language, your brain just registers them as pure static.
It looks like a typo.
It totally looks like a typo, like the cat walked across the keyboard.
But to a beginner, yeah, it looks like static. But Ang has this really beautiful realization while he's drafting this post. He actually writes, "It just dawned on me how much operators matter in a programming language like Haskell."
Right.
He realizes that these cryptic little symbols aren't just, arbitrary shorthand. They're doing something fundamental. They are literally describing the relationship between different types of data.
So they're connecting things.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Their entire purpose is to take small, simple, single-purpose functions and compose them together into this much more complex, powerful machine.
This is where he brings in that brilliant plumbing metaphor, really leaning into that old software plumber identity.
Yeah, I loved that part.
It's so good. He explains that using these operators is exactly like laying down pipes. You're using them to pipe data through different angles and joints and connectors. Instead of manually picking up a piece of data at point A, carrying it all the way across the program and dropping it off at point B, you construct a network of pipes up front.
You build the infrastructure.
Yes. And once that network is built, you just turn the faucet on. The data flows through it entirely on its own.
You basically transition from being a laborer who carries buckets of water back and forth to being the architect of a self-sustaining system.
Wow. Yeah.
And those operators, they are just the joints holding the entire system together.
I love that because it makes perfect sense in the physical world, right? Like, think about setting up an automated drip irrigation system for a massive garden.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Because if you have, say, 100 individual plans.
Yeah.
You do not want to walk around every single morning with a heavy watering can.
Trying to remember, like, does this one need a cup? Does that one need a gallon?
Exactly. It's exhausting. So instead, you spend one weekend laying down a system of PVC pipes. You connect little drip valves to each pot, you hook it all up to a timer, and then you just walk away.
The system does the heavy lifting.
Right. So those angle bracket operators, the dollars and the blacks, they're literally just the plastic elbow joints and T-connectors in your digital irrigation system.
What's fascinating here is that Ang recognizes the inherent friction in this system because a physical PVC pipe obviously looks like a pipe, right?
Sure.
It makes intuitive sense to a human being. You look at it, you know what it does. But an asterisk inside two brackets does not look like a pipe.
Which is exactly my point. If it's just plumbing, why on earth do programmers use such incredibly intimidating alien-looking symbols to build those pipes?
It's a great question.
I mean, why make the tools of automation so completely unreadable to the average person who's just trying to learn the language?
Well, that intimidation factor is the exact dilemma Ang is trying to solve in his post. He's really feeling the extreme friction between a system that is mechanically beautiful to the computer, but practically unreadable to the human developer.
He actually gives it a great name in the post. He calls it alphabet soup.
Which is hilariously accurate.
It really is. Because when you string enough of those punctuation marks together in a single line of code, it stops looking like logical instructions.
Right. If you look back at the history of programming, you see this tension constantly. You have older languages like COBOL that were historically designed to read like verbose English sentences.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then you have these other languages heavily influenced by academic mathematics where a single symbol carries this massive amount of computational weight. And Haskell sits firmly in that mathematical tradition.
Okay, that makes sense.
But Ang, as a developer who actually has to read this code later and, who shares his work on open source platforms for other people to read, he knows that alphabet soup is a serious liability.
Right, because if you can't read the pipes, you can't figure out where the leak is when they inevitably break.
Exactly.
So in this post, he actively goes searching for an alternative. He wonders, what would the code look like if I just stripped out all those overwhelming symbolic operators?
And he actually finds one.
Yeah. He explores this alternative command called lift-A2, which, according to the post, is short for lift applicative 2.
Right. And to understand what lift-A2 is doing mechanically, we really have to look at why Haskell uses these operators in the first place.
Okay.
So in Haskell, to keep things safe and prevent errors, data is often locked inside a specialized box. They call it a context.
Box. Got it.
So think of a normal function as a standard wrench, and your data is a bolt that you need to tighten. Normally, you just apply the wrench to the bolt. Easy. But if that bolt is locked inside a box, you can't just jam the wrench through the side of it.
Yeah, because you'd break the box.
Exactly, you'd break it.
Yeah.
So lifting a function, which is what lift-A2 literally does, it's like attaching a complex mechanical adapter to your standard wrench.
Oh, I see.
It modifies the wrench so it can safely reach inside that specific box, do the work on the bolt, and pull the result out without breaking the container.
Okay, that makes the mechanics make so much more sense.
Yeah, it's a great workaround.
So Ang tests this lift-A2 command. And what I love is he impartially lays out the trade-offs of using it instead of his alphabet soup operators.
Right.
The big pro of lift-A2 is exactly what he was searching for, which is readability. It removes those cryptic symbols. Instead of reading alien math, you're reading an alphanumeric word.
It's just inherently friendlier.
Totally.
Yeah.
It lowers the cognitive load for anyone trying to decipher the code.
But, and there's always a but, then he hits the limitation.
Yeah.
And the catch is right there in the name. Lift-A2 is strictly limited by its own design, that number 2 at the end. It means this specific function can only ever handle exactly 2 arguments, 2 inputs.
Wait, only 2?
Only 2. If you have 3 streams of data that you need to combine, Lift-A2 completely breaks down. It just cannot handle the capacity.
Which brings us right back to the operators, the alphabet soup.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Because Ang points out that while those symbols create denser, much more cryptic code, they have this massive, undeniable advantage.
Scalability.
Yes. The operators allow programmers to work with any number of arguments seamlessly. You can string 3, 4, 10, 100 of them together in a chain, and the system just keeps piping the data through perfectly.
So you really have a stark choice here. You can use the friendly, readable training wheels that only let you combine 2 things. Or you can embrace the cryptic, dense, intimidating symbols that allow you to build an infinitely massive network of pipes.
So what does this all mean? I mean, isn't this a massive paradox?
How so?
It just seems incredibly counterintuitive that in order to make your code infinitely scalable and powerful, you are forced to sacrifice human readability. Like, why does mastering a system demand making it harder for humans to easily parse?
Well, this raises an important question, and honestly, it extends far beyond just Haskell programming. We are looking at a universal problem in the acquisition of any complex skill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, think about learning to read complex sheet music or mastering the shorthand communication in a professional kitchen during a dinner rush.
Oh, like yelling out ticket orders?
Exactly. In the beginning, we require training wheels. We need things spelled out clearly. We need lift day too, because our brains can only handle a small amount of cognitive load. Clarity is our safety net while we learn the underlying logic.
Right. We need the slow, readable version just to grasp the concept without feeling totally overwhelmed.
But eventually, as the complexity of the task scales up, that desire for verbose clarity actually becomes a bottleneck. Spelling everything out takes too long.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To achieve true mastery, to handle numerous inputs and operate at high speeds, you have to transition to the dense, complex shorthand. You have to embrace the operators.
You sacrifice immediate readability for a beginner, but you gain infinite scalability for the expert.
Exactly. It is a necessary evolution.
It's kind of like mathematical notation. Writing out 2 plus 2 equals 4 is very easy to read. But you cannot write out an advanced calculus equation using full English sentences.
Oh, you would fill an entire chalkboard just to express a single thought.
Exactly. You have to use the symbols to condense the logic. And what's cool is Ang recognizes this tension perfectly. He doesn't declare that one method is inherently superior without context.
Right, he's very objective about it.
He simply documents the limitation. And ever the meticulous plumber, he actually promises his readers that in his next post, he's going to explore yet another friendlier approach that might handle numerous arguments.
The quest for the perfect pipe never ends.
It never ends.
Well, it never ends because the desire to optimize is just fundamental to how he operates.
Which brings us to a major transition point, because it takes a very specific kind of brain to obsess over the exact readability of a data pipe in a niche programming language.
He really does.
So the question is, does Ang apply this level of optimization to anything else? Or is this just a quirk of his day job? To understand his desire for perfect, elegant systems, we really have to look at the broader context of his blog.
Oh, absolutely.
His approach to Haskell is just the tip of the iceberg.
The source material goes from being, a neat little programming tutorial to something genuinely awe-inspiring when you pull back and look at the whole archive of keeneming.org.
We actually have the full breakdown of his posting history provided in the source, and the numbers are just staggering. In the year 2025 alone, Ang published 730 posts.
Let that sink in for a moment. That is exactly 2 posts a day on average for an entire year.
Even on weekends.
Every single day.
And in 2024, he published 732 posts, which, if you remember, was a leap year.
So again, exactly 2 posts a day, without fail.
And this isn't some fleeting pandemic hobby, This archive shows an unbroken daily or near daily publishing record stretching all the way back to 2011.
That's 15 years.
For 15 years, this man has been documenting his thoughts, his projects, his tinkering, day in and day out.
Outputting that volume of work requires incredible mental infrastructure. You simply don't achieve that without having built serious mental plumbing to route your daily observations into published logs.
But it's not just the sheer volume that is wild here. It is the breathtaking diversity of the topics.
Oh, yeah.
Under his projects section, he has this massive list of notes on categories. Obviously, he is on part 75 of Haskell Programming, but right below that, he is on part 827 of gardening.
Wow.
And part 205 of fish keeping.
The breadth of his tracking is vast. It's really wild.
Just look at the specific posts published in the single month of March 2026. If you read down the list chronologically, you get mental whiplash.
You really do.
He jumps directly from highly technical software topics like analyzing Wi-Fi 7 Mac and restarting my Go programming straight into a post titled The Gelatinous Pear.
A classic.
Right. And then he writes one called Leggy Seedlings again.
Which, by the way, any gardener will tell you that a leggy seedling is a plant that has grown too tall and thin because it's desperately stretching for a light source.
Right, so it's reaching.
It's a biological error, basically a bug in the growth environment.
And he tracks it exactly like a bug report. It's so cool. He also has a post on the truth about icosapent, which is a fish oil medication filed under his Notes on Dieting category. And, get this, he meticulously updates his Misker fish's spawn logs.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
He is literally tracking the spawning cycles of his betta fish with the exact same rigor that he tracks the software error.
He applies the identical analytical lens to biological reproduction that he applies to applicative syntax. It's brilliant.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Under his Do Support section, he lists hardcore digital privacy organizations. He supports the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the Tor project.
Right, very serious tech advocacy.
This is someone deeply embedded in the cypherpunk, open source, digital freedom movement. But right next to those heavy digital freedom topics, in his daily posts, he is painstakingly documenting his bougainvillea journey.
Yes.
He's just logging the propagation of his garden plants.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what this means for you, the listener, is that keymang.org isn't just a random assortment of diary entries.
No, not at all.
It is a unified framework for engaging with reality. This is a mind applying the exact same rigorous, logical plumbing to the chaotic biological world of plants and fish that he applies to computer code.
He looks at a garden and he sees inputs, outputs, and variables.
Exactly. In Haskell, he is composing a complex software function out of small, simple operators. And in his life, he is composing a complex, rich existence out of small, simple daily logs.
The methodology is identical.
Entirely. Whether it is the angle brackets of a Haskell operator or adjusting the specific watering schedule of a leggy seedling, he is just trying to build a system where the data flows correctly.
It's an attempt to optimize reality itself. The gardening logs, the fish spawning logs, the diet notes, it's all just different syntax for the exact same goal, which is understanding how the system works so you can pipe the data more efficiently.
Right.
And by writing it down exactly twice a day, every day for 15 years, he is externalizing his memory. He is building an open source manual for his own life.
Which brings us to the fundamental challenge we all face, right? Whether you are an old software plumber writing Haskell, or you are just someone trying to keep a houseplant alive and manage your emails, the core problem is the same. How do you handle the overwhelming amount of data the world throws at you without getting crushed by it?
You build pipes, you establish routines, you figure out where you can use the friendly Lift A2 training wheels and where you need to buckle down, learn the complex operators, and build scalable systems that let you handle the chaos.
Well said.
So, to briefly tie this entire journey together for you, we started by looking at the cryptic dollar and operators in Haskell. We examined Eng's realization that coding is just plumbing routing data through a network instead of carrying it by hand.
Right.
We looked at the inherent friction between the friendly but limited Lift A2 command and the powerful but cryptic alphabet soup of real operators.
The eternal trade-off between readability and scalability.
Exactly. And from there, we zoomed out to discover that this philosophy of building efficient pipes is the driving engine behind a staggering decade-and-a-half-long journal. He documents not just code, but gardening, fish breeding, dieting, and just the relentless pursuit of daily progress.
And we want you to consider your own life for a moment. Think about your daily routines, your work, your hobbies.
Yeah.
Where are you still manually moving data from point A to point B? Where are you walking around with a heavy watering can trying to keep track of 100 different pots?
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
Right. And more importantly, where could you sit down, do the hard work of learning the complex operators, and build a network of pipes to let things flow on autopilot?
Because the upfront cost of building a system is high. Deciphering the alphabet soup is hard. But the payoff is that you suddenly have the mental bandwidth to write 730 blog posts a year.
It frees you up to be curious about everything else in the world.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you pondering today. When you scroll to the very bottom of Eng's blog, there is a standard legal disclaimer.
Okay.
It explicitly states that his blog is for informational purposes only, and that he accepts no liability for any loss or damage incurred.
Which is standard boilerplate for any developer sharing open source code.
Sure. But think about what we've discovered about his mind today. If a programmer successfully figures out how to pipe data perfectly in a rigid mathematical language like Haskell, and then he applies that exact same relentless systematic documentation to perfectly raising betta fish and propagating bougainvillea and tracking his own biology, is the ultimate goal of all this trapping and attempt to write the perfect bug-free source code for life itself.
Oh, wow.
And if so, can we ever truly accept no liability for the messy biological bugs that inevitably pop up along the way?
That is a fascinating question to end on because the biological world doesn't always compile perfectly no matter how elegant your pipes are.
It certainly doesn't. But there's a profound beauty in the attempt to make sense of it all. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into canmang.org, the mechanics of Haskell, and the philosophy of an old software plumber.
It's been a great ride.
We really hope it gave you a new perspective on your own systems. We wish you well on your own journey of learning, building your pipes, and maybe eventually making sense of your own alphabet soup. Until next time.